Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahawashi, Bahasham, Rakahakodash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahawashi. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who ruled and teach well. And peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya with another video, and I'm going to start it off in Isaiah chapter 29, verses 18 to 21. And in that day shall the deaf hear the words of the book, and the eyes of the blind shall see out of obscurity and out of darkness. The meek also shall increase their joy in Yahweh, and the poor among men shall rejoice in the Holy One of Israel. And this is speaking of the elect of the nation of Israel. The nation of Israel consisting of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, as well as the Israelite foreigners who look like these heathen nations, waking up globally to the fact that they are the true children of Israel in these last days that we're living in, really the last seconds of the last days. They've had their spiritual eyes and ears opened to the gospel through the men of the Lord, the prophets of the Most High, out on the highways and byways preaching this word, as well as putting up video epistles like this online. Verse 20, for the terrible one is brought to naught, and the scorner is consumed, and all that watch for iniquity are cut off, that make a man an offender for a word, and lay a snare for him that reproveth in the gate, and turn aside the just for a thing of naught. And I opened up the video with these verses to preface an article on the JISHinsider.com titled 125 Lawmakers Call for National Anti-Simulationism Strategy. And of course, we have to speak in codes due to the YouTube algorithms and censorship. Propose interagency task force. The call is the most robust yet for a national cross-agency strategy for addressing spiking anti-simulationism nationwide. And this is an example of them making a man an offender for the word. They setting a snare or a trap for them that reprove in the gate. The terrible one, the elite rulers of this planet right now, who are of the nation of Esau, Edom, are these so-called white people, such as your Rothschilds or your Rockefellers, see the writing on the wall. They understand scriptures and know that when the nation of Israel begins to wake up and call back on their power, Yahweh Bahasham Yahawashi, and the prophets are out prophesying, whatever heathen kingdom that's ruling at that time is going to come to an end. And they also understand that they are the Edomites and what the fate of them and their entire nation is when they're taken out of power. 1,000 years of hardcore bondage and slavery before they're permanently culled from this planet with fire. So they're about to pull out all the stops from that happening. And that involves demonizing the prophets and trying to keep this word from going out and stop this great awakening or prophecy from taking place. This is Revelation chapter 12, verse 12. Therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil, the deceiver, Esau, Edom, more specifically the elites, is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. Making a man an offender for a word and demonizing the word so it can't go out, and then to eventually take the men of the Lord off of the highways and byways and put them to death. And one of the main angles they're going to come at in taking this word offline and taking the men of the Lord off the highways and byways is using that anti-simulation claim, because whenever that term is used against anybody, what happens? You see a censorship of that person and their platform being taken away. Just look at what's happened to Kanye West and Kyrie Irving recently for bringing up information dealing with the so-called Negroes being the children of Israel. They've been labeled as anti-simulationist and have been heavily penalized and chastised in society. And that's just them setting up the stepping stones to eventually come after their main targets, the men of the Lord, chiefly GMS or Great Millstone, who at this point we can see truly has the 100% true doctrine of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. And then look at what's also taken place over the past couple of years. You had that shooting at that Ish Market up in New Jersey back in 2019. And they said that those involved had Hebrew Israelite beliefs, though they like to label it as Black Hebrew Israelites, which, as we always tell you, this is not a color thing. And then what? You have the Southern Kingdom, which are so-called Negroes or so-called Black people. But then you have the Northern Kingdom as well, which are so-called Latinos and Native Americans. And we can't forget about the Israelite foreigners who look like heathen nations. You'll have Israelites that look like Edomites or so-called white people, look like so-called Chinese people or Moabites, etc., etc. Then you also had that incident at the Capitol with those Catholic high school students and HOI, which is another Israelite group. You had earlier this year that incident that took place during Christmas with that guy driving his car through a Christmas parade and killing a few people. And they said that he had some Israelite beliefs, as well as he supported some beliefs of Hitler, which what have we been seeing lately with Kanye West, that he's been giving his praises to Adolf Hitler. The list goes on. And a lot of these people, these celebrities and incidences have been set up to lay the groundwork for this ultimate demonization campaign that they're coming with against the men of the Lord and the truth as a whole. Them laying that snare or that trap for him that reproveth in the gate, making a man an offender for the word. A bipartisan group of 125 lawmakers urged President Joe Biden on Monday to establish a whole-of-government approach to anti-simulationism, the broadest call yet for such a unified plan to combat spiking anti-simulationism across the country. In a letter to Biden, the lawmakers call on the administration to develop a national strategy to combat anti-simulationism and suggest that the administration establish an interagency task force to combat anti-simulationism led by an official with the rank of assistant secretary or higher to help the administration work more closely to tackle the problem. The communique, organized by the chairs of the bipartisan Senate and House anti-simulation task forces, Senators Jack Rosen, James Lankford, and Representatives Kathy Manning and Chris Smith, includes 33 Senate and 92 House signatories. Combating a growing threat of this magnitude, particularly here at home, requires a strategic whole-of-government approach. The letter's signatories argue anti-simulation voices inciting hateful and violent action are finding new audiences, with anti-ish conspiracies gaining traction across the globe and through social media. The lawmakers argue that interagency coordination should include a broadly understood definition of anti-simulationism. And remember, that term is used to demonize anything against what the powers that be try to push, which a lot of them are Ish people. And even then, the Ish people aren't the true children of Israel. Again, the true children of Israel are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Those Ish people are actually Edomites of the tribe of Amalek, as some individual agencies have adopted, as well as closer coordination among the various entities involved in combating anti-simulationism across the administration and within Congress to share information, fill gaps, and minimize overlaps. The strategic collaboration of such entities would also send a key message to the American people and the international community that the United States is committed to fighting anti-simulationism at the highest levels. The letter continues. The lawmakers further request that the administration work with the leaders of the House and Senate task forces and nonprofit leaders to develop a national strategy. At this moment of heightened anti-simulationism, fighting hate cannot be a partisan issue. That Senators Rosen and Lankford and Representatives Manning and Smith have come together with more than 100 of their colleagues, a critical moment where members not only reached across the aisle, but across chambers as well, to stake out a position on this is a welcome and necessary show of leadership from the Hill. Dan Greneau, the ADL's director, of course, the ADL standing for Anti-Defamation League, Director of Government Relations, told the Ish Insider, "What they are demanding is what ADL has long called for in our combat plan, a unified national strategy to combat anti-simulationism. Our leaders cannot approach this problem passively or haphazardly. Now is the time for a concerted, coordinated, whole-of-government strategy to address the hatred that is becoming dangerously mainstream." What they call hatred is just the truth coming out. It's a true thing that these issues control pretty much all of the major industries out here. Hollywood, the banking industry, pornography, etc., and they use their clout and their power to influence major issues out here. And again, it's coming out that you issues aren't the true people of the book. The true people of the book are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and they can't have that. Deceiving the people into thinking that they are the true children of the Most High is one of the main strongholds, one of the main grasps that they've had on the people's minds. And if they lose that grasp, they lose a lot of their power. So what? By us showing through the scriptures that they aren't the true children of Israel, that they're in fact Amalekite Edomites, what's that going to be labeled as? Anti-Shemitism, hate. Your words, like Kanye West and Kyrie Irving and whoever else, is instigating acts of domestic terrorism, black nationalism, black identity extremism, all these other isms out here. The letter follows a movement on the Hill pushing for such a national strategy. Senator Ben Cardine, joined by Rosen and others, convened a meeting on Capitol Hill last week with administration and nonprofit leaders to discuss such a national strategy. Rosen pressed FBI Director Christopher Wray and Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas on whether they would support a national strategy to combat anti-simulationism at a Senate hearing last month. Both said they would. Second Gentleman Doug Emhoff, White House advisors Susan Rice and Keisha Lance Bottoms, and anti-simulationism envoy Deborah Lipstadt will be hosting a meeting at the White House on Wednesday with Ish leaders to further discuss anti-simulationism. That's it with this article. But as we can clearly see, all the pieces are being put in place to make a man an offender for a word and lay a snare or a trap for him that reproveth in the gate. And we aren't going to be able to post these videos online or go out and preach this word on the highways and byways for too much longer. We're coming to the end of this ministry. We're coming to the times of the persecution and the famine of the word. So like we always tell you, sincere Akim and Akwat out there, drink from these rivers of living waters while you still can, because the spigot is about to be turned off. And whatever knowledge, wisdom, and understanding you got while the time was still available, hey, that's what you're going to have to be your stability through these terrible times of Jacob's trouble that we're coming into. But now I'm going to close it out in Amos chapter 8, verses 11 to 13. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord Yahweh, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water, though famine of food and drink is coming, but of hearing the words of Yahweh. The famine of the word, where the men of the Lord are no longer going to be on the highways and byways, and these video epistles are no longer going to be online. And they shall wander from sea to sea, and from the north even to the east. They shall run to and fro to seek the word of Yahweh, and shall not find it. In that day shall the fair virgins and young men faint for thirst. The wicked of our people, you Israelites who are hard-headed and rebellious, who spent this time of liberty when you could freely get the words of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, you scoffed it and threw it behind your backs. And really, if you could, you'd want to put the prophets to death. In these terrible times of Jacob's trouble, you're going to be looking for the words of the Most High, but you won't be able to find it. And you're going to have to take whatever judgments come in your way. And as it says in 2 Ezra chapter 9, I believe verse 12, and they shall know it after death by pain. So that's it with this video. With this video, I hope you sincere Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong, as we can clearly see. We're almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharallah, and until next time, Shalom.